Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am back with another true crime video, and today we are going to be doing the story of Judge Patrick Ndobeko Maqubela and Thandi Maqubela. If you're new to this channel, I try and do these videos often, so please do check out the playlist. I've done a couple already and I will be doing more in the near future. Now with that said, and without wasting any more time, let's dive into today's video. Today's video takes us to a small village called Qumbu in the Eastern Cape, and subsequently will end up in Cape Town, South Africa. Patrick Ndobeko Maqubela was born in a small village 300 kilometers outside of East London in Qumbu on the 24th of March 1949. He spent most of his childhood years here, completing his matric and thereafter moving to East London, where he studied towards his LLB at the University of Fort Hare. Upon acquiring his LLB degree, he then moved to Durban, where he did his articles and ultimately getting admitted as an attorney and later as an advocate. He met and married his first wife, Nzwaki Maqubela, in the year 1977, and they went on to raise two beautiful sons together, Mpho and Duma Maqubela. Patrick was an active member of the African National Congress, better known as the ANC, and went on to make many lifelong friendships during this time with some of the most prominent members of the ANC, including one of his close friends, Jeff Radebe. He was also an MK cadre, which is a paramilitary wing of the ANC, which was formulated by Nelson Mandela in the wake of the Sharpeville massacre. So Patrick was deeply intertwined into the ANC and went as far as representing a lot of ANC members in court during the apartheid years. Sadly, after a few short years, his marriage to his first wife ended in divorce after infidelity from his end. And as if matters could not get any worse, in 1982, he ended up getting arrested and was charged under the apartheid security legislation with sabotage and treason, and was sentenced to 20 years. And he would spend the most of the 80s in Robben Island. In the year 1990, he was released from prison and he rekindled a relationship he had started just before he went into prison. The relationship was with a young lady, then 35 years old, Thandi Maqubela. Tandi was born in the year 1955 and was a qualified nurse turned businesswoman. The couple almost immediately got married in September of 1991 upon Patrick's release. A few years into their marriage, they went on to have two children of their own, two girls. So after Patrick was released from prison, he immediately went back to work as a lawyer. Now, because South Africa was actually undergoing a transition from the apartheid government to a democratic South Africa, a lot of opportunities were opening up. He started a law firm with his partners and named it Bailey and Associates. He was also appointed a legal advisor from the South African Airways, and his life was truly on the up and up, and it afforded him and his family the opportunity to live a luxurious life. He bought his family a house in the heart of Sandton that cost him 17 million rands, where he was paying a bond of 120,000 rands per month at the time. Their two girls were also going to one of the best schools in Johannesburg, and Thandi Maqubela was also doing pretty well in her business, where she was a forever living distributor and had managed to climb up the ranks of the company high enough to earn a decent living. Unfortunately, in 2006, cracks in what seemed to be a happy family / a happy marriage started showing. What seemed like a perfect situation actually turned out to be the exact opposite. In 2006, Patrick was 57 years old. Thandi found out that Patrick was cheating and confronted him. He denied this, and this is when Thandi decided that she would hire a private investigator to follow Patrick around to see and ascertain for herself that indeed he wasn't cheating. The digging didn't just last for a couple of weeks or months, it actually went on for a couple of years. In 2008, Patrick was appointed as an acting judge of the Cape Town High Court, which meant that they had to move from Johannesburg to Cape Town. They bought an apartment in Sea Point at the Bantry Bay Luxury Apartments. So this meant that during the week, from Monday to Friday, Patrick would be in Cape Town, and then he would fly back to Johannesburg over the weekend to spend time with the kids and Thandi. But most of the time, Thandi would also make sure that she leaves the kids in Johannesburg and goes to Cape Town to spend some time with her husband during the week. So on those occasions, they would then fly back together on the Friday to go see the kids. Unfortunately, Patrick working in Cape Town made Thandi more and more anxious and unsettled because of all the cheating evidence that she had accumulated over the years. Through her private investigator, she knew that Patrick had multiple girlfriends all over the country, most of which were in their early 20s and still in varsity. She started documenting each and everything that had to do with the cheating, from the hotel rooms that he used to the condoms that she would find in his pockets, as well as Viagra pills, each and everything that she could find, cell phone records, doctor's appointments that he went to where he requested these pills. Everything that she, together with her private investigator, could find relating to the cheating, she documented. The doctor that was given the Viagra would later testify in the case, saying that he indeed came to him and requested Viagra pills on all the appointments that he had. Nonetheless, when she was not physically documenting all of this evidence, she was following up with the girls, okay? She had their addresses, she had their numbers, she had all the information that had to do with all the girls that he cheated with. She would call them and tell them that they should stay away from her husband. On one occasion, she drove all the way from Johannesburg to Bloemfontein. When she got there, she got the young girl, told the young girl that if you don't stay away from my husband, the whole of South Africa is going to know that you have a sugar daddy and you are sleeping with a sugar daddy and you are young. And the girl apologized profusely to Thandi because obviously she was scared, she was young, she apologized, and Thandi left. On a different occasion, and this was actually read out in court, Thandi SMS'd the young girl stating, "I found your filthy underwear, and if you don't stop seeing my husband, you will regret it." Now, assuming that perhaps she's going to use the underwear to do something. Now, at this point, Thandi was really going completely berserk. She was completely consumed by her husband's infidelity, and she did not do anything else other than compile evidence. If she's not compiling evidence, she's running around looking for the girls. In the year 2009, she realized it's been 3 years since she first suspected that her husband was cheating. At this point, absolutely nothing had changed. In fact, things were actually getting worse. And at the time, he was in Cape Town now, acting as an acting judge at the Cape Town High Court, and this gave him the opportunity to be by himself during the week, making the situation even worse. It is believed that she wanted her husband back in Johannesburg, and she was going to do anything that she could to make sure that this happened. She went on a quest, perhaps to embarrass him or to force him to resign from his post and come back home. She started sending the evidence that she had compiled over the years to family and colleagues back in Cape Town. This evidence included condom wrappers, hotel receipts, photographs, some of them nude, and it included Viagra pictures, cell phone records. It was an extensive file of evidence that she sent to colleagues, like I already mentioned, as well as his family. And this was perhaps to make him so embarrassed that he resigns and goes back home. Obviously, Patrick was embarrassed by this. He actually went on to share with one of his friends that he's tired of Thandi, he really wants to divorce her, and he's contemplating it. Patrick did not resign, however, he stayed in Cape Town. So if this was Thandi's plan, it definitely did not work. Patrick's plan was actually to move from being an acting judge and hopefully be appointed as a judge full-time in Cape Town High Court. Now, a person of great influence who's also in a committee to make sure that this happens is actually one of his old friends, Jeff Radebe. Jeff Radebe at the time was a Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, and Thandi knew this. With this knowledge, she then set up an appointment with Jeff, and the day of the appointment was set aside to be the 3rd of June 2009 in Cape Town. But before the day of this particular appointment, Thandi set up a different meeting, and this time with the Sowetan newspaper in Johannesburg. She wanted to give them a scoop. When she got to this particular meeting, she told the editor that she wanted them to run a story on her husband because he is sleeping with young girls. Now, she then went on to debunk everything that was going on, saying that he is bonking a galaxy of women young enough to be his granddaughters, and that she, Thandi, was going to supply them with all the information that they needed. She had the addresses of all the young ladies as well as their cell phone numbers. She had investigated each and everything. She had all the communication between all of them. She had also went as far as going to the girls, asking the girls to write affidavits stating out each and everything that the husband has ever done for them, including what they did, where they did it, when they did it, how they did it, each and everything. She had lots and lots of information. She gave the Sowetan all of this information and requested that they publish it, all in the efforts to humiliate her husband. Surely after this, he would have no choice but to resign, because who would want a high court judge acting like this? The Sowetan took all the evidence but was definitely not not in a hurry to publish because they had to do their own due diligence and they had to reach out to Patrick for comment. And when they reached out to him, he was so frustrated. He told them where to get off and he was very upset with his wife and was just wondering, what is this woman doing? I'm definitely going to leave her now. Thandi, on the other hand, perhaps feeling like the Sowetan was taking their own time, then decided to honor her meeting with Jeff Radebe, which was set for the 3rd of June 2009. The meeting was going to take place in Cape Town. Thandi arrived to the meeting and her sole purpose for the meeting was to humiliate her husband. Jeff, you must remember, is Patrick's friend from back in the 70s. So when she got there, she started unpacking all the evidence. Her second reason for this meeting was possibly to make sure that Jeff does not appoint her husband as an official judge of the High Court because he was currently acting. So she got there, she unpacked all the evidence, like already saying, detailing all the affairs and the sagas, the pictures, the hotel rooms, the nudes, each and everything she unpacked. Basically, she brought all the receipts. Jeff would later state in the court case much later on that, you know what, when she got there, she was extremely angry and excitable during the meeting, and after sharing all the information, they just parted ways. Now, naturally, he said that after the meeting, he called his friend because he was definitely going to tell his friend about this meeting. He called his friend Patrick and told him that, listen, your wife came to me. She's a file full of evidence detailing each and every second of your life for the past 3 years. She has your nudes, she has pictures, she has Viagra, she has conversations between you and many, many girls. She has a lot of information on you. Now, I think for the first time, Patrick really saw the magnitude of it all, because at times it was only in pieces that he heard this information, but it was the first time that he was hearing the extent at which the wife had gone to make sure that she accumulated a lot of evidence. And I think at this point he decided that no ways, like after the Sowetan thing, after she told my colleagues and my family, I really need to leave this woman. The following day was Thursday, the 4th of June 2009, and this is the last day that anyone would see the judge alive. Now, it is believed that perhaps after the meeting with Jeff, they went back home to their apartment at the Bantry Bay, and this is where they had an argument regarding what had happened with Jeff Radebe. Patrick could have perhaps told the wife that, you know what, I'm done, it's over, this is too much now, you've gone over the edge, I want a divorce. Okay, from this point onwards, I'm going to share with you the version of the state as to what happened on the 5th of June 2009, and after the version of the state, I'll share with you Thandi's version of events. Now, according to the state, Thandi Maqubela was in Cape Town for the meeting with Jeff. She wasn't supposed to be in Cape Town this week. They had not made any arrangements that she would be coming up to visit the husband. The assumption was that she was going to be with the kids. Nonetheless, she surprised the husband, got to Cape Town because she wanted to honor the appointment with Jeff. It is believed that after the said meeting, the couple might have argued regarding the whole situation and Patrick would have asked for a divorce. According to the state's evidence, they believe that after this argument, Thandi then left the husband, called a friend and business associate, Vela Mabena, to come through to help her with something. And this was proven, at least this part was proven, that Vela actually did come to the apartment on the day, but he would later state in court that he was there to collect a book. Nonetheless, according to the state's case, when Vela arrived at the apartment, they then decided to ambush Patrick. This is when they used cling wrap to put around his neck, and then they took his life by stifling him. It is then believed that they layered him with a lot of clothing. Also, they put the aircon on to the highest heat level, and thereafter they put a pillow on top of his face and then left. And the reason they did all of this, the whole putting of the pillow on top of his face, the whole reason why they layered him with a lot of clothing, and the reason they left the aircon on was because they wanted him to decompose quicker. Then this would make sure that they could not determine how he had passed away. And the state would go on to say that Thandi knew all of this. Thandi knew that in order to make sure that a body decomposes quicker, you need to make sure that the heat is high because she had a nursing background. The state then said that the two decided to separate. Thandi booked a flight to Johannesburg, but not before taking Patrick's phone with her for some reason. She then started using Patrick's phone to SMS his friends and family. One of the friends that she SMS SMS'd as Patrick was Jeff. The SMS was read out in court and it says, "Jeff, I must now admit that I have a serious problem. I've done things. I can't face myself or my wife. I lied. I accused Thandi of a lot of things and I am not myself. I need help." She also SMS'd family members with Patrick's phone saying more or less the same thing. She also SMS'd her own phone from Patrick's phone and basically apologizing to herself, acting as if she is Patrick. Unfortunately, what Thandi didn't know or calculate at the time was that everywhere where her cell phone pinged, Patrick's phone pinged. Now, the problem with this was that it started pinging in the apartment, and then the phones moved to the airport, and then they moved to Johannesburg, and then they moved to Qumbu, where she would later go. So if Patrick was left at home and SMSing from the house, why were the pings following her cell phone? So she definitely did not think that far. As she's busy SMSing, the phone is pinging next to her very own cell phone. So this is Thandi's version of events. She says that she left the apartment very early. Patrick was still sleeping, but it was looking fine. She was supposed to fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg and from Johannesburg to East London and was supposed to go to Qumbu. The family was all supposed to meet in Qumbu, which is where Patrick is from. So Patrick was also supposed to join the following day. She says the problem is, upon arriving in Qumbu, she tried to call her husband and he was not picking up. She basically assumed that he was being his normal, unreliable self, and this is when she got annoyed and she booked a flight from East London again to Johannesburg without waiting for him, because he was like, this guy is unreliable. I'm also leaving if he's not coming. Now, the problem with her story is it's all good and well. She actually did go to Qumbu. She did try to call her husband, but the phone was pinging right next to her at Qumbu. And another problem with the whole situation is that she says that she had booked a flight back to Johannesburg after the husband had not come, but when they went back to the flight registry, that flight was booked even before she left Cape Town. So how did she know that the husband wasn't going to come and she would have to book an earlier flight when she was still in Cape Town? So definitely there were a lot of problems with her alibi. It just proved that the whole thing was set up for her to have an alibi. Nonetheless, because the judge had missed work on Friday and he was not picking up anyone's call, he was basically only, if someone called him, he would answer with an SMS, and this SMS obviously is believed to have been Thandi. So on Sunday, which was 2 days later from the 5th, a friend of his who was also a colleague just decided, no, this is not adding up. First of all, the SMS responses just do not sound like him, and two, he was not one to miss work. It was just a bit sketchy, so the friend decided that he would go visit him at the apartment to check if everything was fine. When he got to the apartment, he spoke to the securities at the gate. He asked the securities if they had seen the judge, and they hadn't seen him since Thursday. When the friend got to the apartment door, they knocked, he wasn't opening. They then went back to the security and said that, you know what, just in case he's in there and maybe he has some health crisis, he's not feeling well and he's not able to answer, they really want to force entry into the apartment. The security then said, at least call Tandi and find out if this is okay. Otherwise, if Tandi says yes, then they will help them. So the friend calls Tandi, tells Tandi, you know what, I'm worried about my friend. I'm outside your apartment. Can I please force in entry? Tandi then says, no, it's okay. At the time, it is believed that Tandi was still in Qumbu. So Tandi says, yeah, no, it's fine. You guys can force in entry. They force entry. They go into the apartment, and sadly, that is when they discover Judge Patrick Maqubela in his bed, covered by a pillow on his face, in a very hot room because the aircon had been on since Friday, and unfortunately he was badly decomposed because of how hot the environment was. The police were called in. At first glimpse, it was suspected that perhaps he had suffered some sort of a heart attack in his sleep, but after a long and thorough investigation that took almost a year, it was determined that there were signs of foul play. Now, before the investigation got to that point, just a few weeks after the judge had actually passed away, Thandi went on to forge a will. Okay, at the time that the judge had passed away, he did not have a will. Now, what this meant was his estate was going to be divided between his wife and all of his children, including the children from his previous marriage. Now, Thandi, obviously, for some reason, did not want all of that. She decided to forge a will, and in this will, she was the main beneficiary, and the children that she had with the judge, meaning all the other kids were excluded because he did not write them in the will. Obviously, this is a fake will. So obviously, this was one of the main red flags. The kids did not understand why their father, who loved them so much, would disinherit them. So they followed through with that will, and obviously it was found to be a forgery. And so by the time that she was arrested, almost a year later, she was not only charged for taking her husband's life, but also for fraud and forging a will. The case would take almost 4 years, and during these 4 years, she would be known to be one of the most stylish accused to ever walk into the South African court. She would wear hats and dukes, pencil skirts, pantyhose, pointed heels, and was always in sunglasses, even during the court proceedings. And as if that wasn't enough, she was not only the most stylish accused in South Africa, but also one of the most dramatic. She was known to faint inside the court. She was known to raise her file, where she would write messages to her kids, sometimes Bible verses. Also, if she could, she'll take an interview outside. And one of the most known interviews was when she was telling people that, you know what, my husband was not even ANC by the time he passed away. And the reason for this is that a lot of ANC supporters were there, and she just basically wanted them to know that, you know what, you guys think he was ANC, he was not.
I respect the court, but I want South African citizens to know that I've got nothing against ANC, and my husband was no more ANC when he passed away.
After a long, tedious trial in 2013, she was finally found guilty of taking her husband's life and also for forging a will. Her co-accused, which was Vusi Mabena, the guy who had actually come to the complex that day, he was found not guilty because there was just not enough proof to pin the crime on him. She was later sentenced to 18 years imprisonment. Now, ordinarily, this is where I would say we've come to the end of the video because it ends here. Unfortunately, with Thandi, it doesn't, because she went on to appeal the judgment. And 4 years later, in 2017, the judgment was actually overturned and she was found not guilty. And the reason she was found not guilty was because they felt like there was just reasonable doubt. And the reasonable doubt came from the end of which the state could just not prove that indeed she had taken her husband's life. They could not prove that he did not die from natural causes. The judge was sadly decomposed to the point where it was just speculation that he was perhaps stifled or anything like that. So because they could not prove it, after 4 years in jail, in 2017, Tandi Maqubela was back home. She had been acquitted. For forging the will, she was still convicted. However, she had already spent a lot of time in jail already. So for that, she did not have a sentence because there was already time spent. So she got home. She went home in 2017. And as of now in 2023, she's trying to inherit, and it looks like she will inherit. She was in court just last week, and it is in the final stages because she wants to claim her inheritance. After the division of the estate and everything else, there's around 12 million that had to be divided, and she wants a piece of that 12 million. And now the whole thing in court was, can she inherit because she had forged a will? So that case was still pending, but it looks like it's at the end as of last week. I was following it, and it looks like she will be inheriting from it, but the judgment is yet to come. I'll perhaps comment down below and let you know if she got a piece. And with that said, I have come to the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.